My apologies for being late. No technical difficulties. It was just me being me. It was one of those days. It's so cold here um, that I think my brain froze. That's the excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So, welcome to Kevali Presents for December 19th. 6 days away from Christmas. I hope everybody's ready for the big day. We have a guest today that has a story that I know a little bit about her story, but I'm really looking forward to hearing the whole story. Though I just heard in my head that guy that used to do the show on the radio saying, and that's the rest of the story. I'm old. People who are old will remember that, and probably in the chats, if you remember that, tell me who it was, because I can't remember. Anyways, today we have Tabitha Kolodziej. I'm hoping I said that name right, Kolodziej. She is she's actually a client of mine, and we got chatting, and her story was just so cool that I just said, you know what, I need to interview her. So without further ado, I'm going to click this button over here, and she should pop up if my stuff is working right. There she is. Hello, young lady.
Hello. How are you?
I am good. My apologies for running late.
Don't be sorry for something.
It was just one of those things, you know. It was like sitting downstairs, having a good time, and went, oh, somebody messaged me. Why would be? Oh, no. I forgot. I have to be upstairs at 7 o'clock, and it's 8 minutes after.
It's all good. We're in a rest and reflect period as it's like minus 30, so I will let that one slide.
Oh my God. What is the temperature right now? I know it's, I'm just going to my trusty, it's minus 36. With the wind chill, it's minus 50.
Is that the wind chill right now? Oh my God.
Why do we live here? We could live anywhere in the world.
Myself, why we live here. Yeah.
Wow, my God, it's cold. Minus 50 people. Why do we do this?
It's not fit for a polar bear.
No, it's not. And we're not polar bears. Yes, I have some extra chubs on me, but come on. That's insane. Minus 30. I had to check it to make sure I was right. And I'm like, yeah, minus 50 with the wind chill. That's insanity.
Yeah. It's a little cold.
No doubt. Well, we were going to chat last week and things didn't work out, but I'm glad we're here this week. Let's jump in and talk about your story. First, before we do that, what is the name of your company?
So my company is Awakened and Aligned.
Awakened and Aligned. And what is it you do?
What isn't it that I do?
It's better way to say it, isn't it?
I have a lot of different modalities that I've really tapped into in the last few years. Everything from shamanism. I am a spiritual channeler. I am an energy healer, Reiki practitioner. I also work in mental health. I am an NLP coach, so I do a lot of like subconscious programming of our mind. Life coach. I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 10 years, so I've kind of dabbled into different areas. But I've really embraced my my spirituality in like the last 7 years. Nice. It's really grown and evolved for me in the last, I want to say, like 2 years. It's really changed a lot of things for me mentally, physically, emotionally. Yeah, it's been a journey to say the least.
Seems to be a lot of people stepping into their own. Probably not the correct words, but yeah, I think I'll use those words. In the last couple of years, I don't know if it was because of COVID or COVID gave us the opportunity to be able to step into our own.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm the same way. I mean, I always knew there was something else. I always knew I've seen dead people. And I did that since I was knee high to a grasshopper.
Yeah.
But I've talked to so many people that say in the last 2 years, it's really skyrocketed. They're awakening. I hate that word, but you know what I'm saying, that journey is accelerated.
We're evolving, maybe.
There you go. Maybe that's it. Maybe as we moved into the age of Aquarius, or we were preparing to move into the age of Aquarius. So the ones that needed to be awoken got the kick in the head or
Yeah.
elsewhere and told, hey, it's time. It's time. You're getting old. Get with it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your story. Let's go back. When did you really start your awakening, like as far as spirituality goes?
Oh, for me, I feel I've always been a very intuitive person my whole entire life. I felt like when I was younger, I blocked myself a lot of where I am at now, and really being able to embrace my abilities, my like ability to channel, self-healing, all of these things. You don't really know what you don't know. And I
Yeah.
think for me, a lot of it scared me. Like growing up, I was very much exposed to spirituality. My mom was a very spiritual person, but growing up, I was always that person that I was like, I don't want to see no ghosts and shit up in here. It's scared me.
Get
um,
out.
yeah, it scared me. So I feel like I blocked myself in a lot of ways from really stepping into the spirit realm, if you will. But my journey really took off. I want to say it was about 7 years ago. I was going through a lot of difficulties in my life. I was in a very emotional, physical, abusive relationship that sent me spiraling in different ways. And I just really found myself in this place of like, just being like lost. I didn't really feel like I had a life purpose. I had so many questions that were like unanswered. And I had a very traumatic childhood. I have not had an easy life by any means. I've gone through a lot of stuff in my life. And for me, I feel like that was kind of, I don't want to say a rock bottom. I feel like I hit rock bottom before that point. But I was really at a point in my life in that space where I just wanted answers, and I was really seeking a different way out. I was really seeking a way of looking more internally, really identifying parts of myself that were no longer serving me. And obviously, getting out of this relationship and stuff, I was just seeking support. I was feeling in this very broken place. And so I was actually at one of the crystal stores here in Calgary, and
Oh, cool.
I was just really curious. I was, no expectations. I just kind of went in and was talking to some people, and I was looking for just some tools and things to help me. I started getting into meditation. And so going there, they had actually advertisements for Reiki, and I had never heard anything about Reiki. I didn't know what it meant, what it looked, sound, and felt like, but I was in the state of curiosity. And curiosity led me to booking a session with my Reiki practitioner, which I'm super, super grateful for. And just the amount of support and release that I felt in that session was really, really healing for me.
Nice.
It kind of like opened my mind to seeing that there's more things that are out there. I spent most of my life in therapy, which I have nothing against therapy. I found it really beneficial. I actually have clients of mine that are still active in therapy. But I found for me personally, it wasn't really like unlocking the codes that were keeping me stuck. I was actively talking about these things, but I wasn't actually able to fully move through them and really release these parts of me that were no longer serving me. And with
And I
Reiki,
think that's the key, is releasing the parts.
yeah,
So many people get into therapy and they just live in it. And it's like, no, yeah, it's that vicious circle. It is, isn't it?
yeah,
And you got to be able to step through that. And I think you're right when you say with energy work, especially when you're able to have someone really be able to walk you through it,
yeah,
it's so helpful.
yeah. Yeah, and for me, having experienced that and just feeling the benefits of it, feeling just the emotional sensations, the emotional release, that it got me curious, and I was like, wow, like this is what I felt from one session. And I mean, I can attest that a healing journey is never one and done. It's like the layer of an onion. It's like you uncover some shit, and then there's some more stuff, and there's
Damn
some more.
it. I
It
thought
just
we
like
dealt with
never
everything.
stops. And so, yeah, for me, after that point, I became more curious. I became a little bit more open to thinking that, okay, there's maybe more out there. And so from there, I'd gone to a couple other sessions, and from that point, they were actually introducing like classes and stuff. And I was like, well, maybe if this is what other people can do for me, what are some tools that I can learn for myself? Because ultimately, that's the goal, is like, anybody can tell you this is what you can do, or, this is what's wrong with you. These are the patterns or whatever. But it's like, for me, it's really learning how to navigate through life myself, and just having my own tools to be able to help myself without relying on people, so I really wanted to learn and embody this. And so, so I took some Reiki classes and stuff, and it literally changed my life. Just in being able to recognize my own patterns, recognize my own traumas, recognize my own triggers. But now that it's like, there's that self-aware piece, now how do we shift that? And so from there, it's just been a journey. And, I mean, it's again, never a one and done. It's been multiple layers and years of adding and breakthroughs and stuff. So it's been really, really cool. But for me, it just started with being curious and just open, having an open mind and open heart. I really had no expectations going into it at that point in my life. It was just like, what do I have to lose? And at that point I had nothing to lose. I just, wanted help. And I was feeling in this place of just like brokenness and just despair. So I was kind of open to anything at that point.
Now you've mentioned brokenness, despair. And I know that childhood wasn't the best for you, I'll say. Is it okay if your guides are saying yes? Is it okay if we,
sure,
whether you want to or not, is it okay if we go back there a little bit? There's reason I do this is there's people listening who have to understand you don't have to be born into this. It's not like it's a gift passed down from generation to generation to generation. You can go through the worst kind of shit that's possible and still turn out to be a good human being. The key is, and I think you nailed it. Whew, I got goosebumps. You nailed it when you said, I was curious. And really, that's all it takes, is to be curious, to be able to open up a whole new chapter in your life. Hell, I was 55 when I opened up this chapter. So you're never too old, and you're never too young. But going back, talk about your childhood, your upbringing. Were you born and raised in Calgary?
No, so I was actually born in the Yukon. I didn't live there very long. And everybody's like, oh, so you should be used to this like weather. I'm like, no, FYI, nobody gets used to minus 30 plus, 30 below. Yes. But yeah, I only lived there for a period of time. My dad was only in my life until I was about 6 months old. And then my mom and my dad had, they were never married, but my dad had left me at a very young age. And so my mom was a single mom raising both my brother and I from the time that, I was like 6 months old. Edmonton, Calgary's kind of been like home for me. I was in Red Deer for like 7 years, but I mean, I've been in Calgary now for about 7-8 years, I want to say. And it feels like home for me. I feel very fortunate that we have the mountains super close. And for me, that's been like so grounding, and just like, that's my zen. And it just, there's so many great things about it, but that's neither here nor there. But so I mean, I don't really know where you want me to start with that.
Wherever you feel right to start.
Yeah. So for me, like looking back on my childhood, again, like you don't really know like what you don't know. And for me, I often felt ashamed of my childhood and from where I had come from, which anybody that's watching this, I know there's parts of us in our life that maybe feel constricted to sharing those parts with others, whether it's our partners, whether it's our friends. And for me, I think a lot of that shame was just because like I had people that were in my life that just didn't necessarily understand where I had come from. A lot of my friends, had very safe, secure environments. And I think that like we as a society define like what's normal. And I feel like now that more people are talking about it, and since COVID and since vulnerability has been more of a common thread, I feel that people are embracing more of their stories. But for me, I was very ashamed of where I came from. Um, because not a lot of people talked about it. And it's only really been in the last, I want to say maybe 2 years, that I've really embraced where I come from. And I've really realized now that I've released these limiting beliefs around my life, is like, your story doesn't define who you are. And your story is one of those things that, you can stay in this place of like victim, and I am the way that I am because of my childhood, but it's our responsibility to kind of shift out of these old paradigms and these old stories that we tell ourselves. And for me, it took me, believe me, it took me a long friggin' time to be able to come to this like realization that like, I am not my past. I am who I choose to be moving forward from this point. And so it kind of kept me stuck in this, these shame stories and limiting beliefs for a long time. Like, I didn't come from money. Growing up, I always had this mentality that like, you had to work hard to get to, where you wanted to be. And, success meant like living in the hustle grind culture and all of these things. And I had a very bad, money story. We grew up like poor most days. Like, it was a struggle for us to even know if my brother and I were going to get food. We spent multiple months, even years, like living off of the food bank. And again, like I share this stuff, and sometimes it feels like very emotional and embarrassed, but it's just like,
it shouldn't be.
I had to come to this realization that like, everybody's doing the best they can with what they have. And so for me, into realizing that with my mom, it was like releasing that shame and just like really realizing that she did the best she could with what tools she had. And once I was able to come from that place of just like forgiveness and realization, it changed a lot of things in my life. I had somebody ask me one time if I ever have any regrets in my life. And I honestly like think back to parts of my life, and there's obviously a lot of things that sometimes we wish we might have done differently. But for me, I feel like had I not gone through the things that I went through in my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Like, I look at all,
you wouldn't be who you are.
Yeah. And I look at all of the things that I went through, and it made me a lot stronger for where I am. It made me like resilient. And it gave me a lot of things perspectively to take into my own life with my own little person. I have a 4-year-old. And so it's really made me aware of, it's just like really made me aware of, again, that piece of like, everybody's doing the best they can with what they have. And it's like allowed me to change a lot of the stories that I told myself growing up. And it's also been able for me, in a sense, reparent myself, living notoriously through my daughter, which is really cool. Growing up, my mom wasn't around a lot. I struggled a lot with deep like abandonment wounds that took me a long time. And in fact, it was something that I think I wasn't even consciously aware of until about last year. I was just realizing these same patterns and loop patterns that were keeping me stuck and, repeating the same vicious cycles over and over and over again. And I didn't understand why. And then it's like, we look internally and think there's something wrong with us. But as I always tell my clients, like, the one thing that I can give to everybody watching this is like, we can only behave at the level of our unhealed trauma. And for me, when I realized that, it was a game changer, because it's like, of course, this is why I think the way that I do. Of course, this is why, these same patterns and stuff are coming up in this self-sabotaging behavior. You don't know what you don't know. But it's like, now that we brought that awareness, how can we begin to shift this and stuff? And for me, again, as somebody that, I dropped out of school, and, like, that was kind of my path that I went down for a while. I was in this space where, my mom wasn't around, my dad wasn't around. I dropped out of school. I went to work full time. And
how old were you when you dropped out of school?
When I dropped out of school, I was 15 going on 16. I did wind up going back like years later. I wound up getting like my GED and stuff. That was something that was like really, really important to me. So I did make those changes in my life. But at that point in time, I had actually gone down like a very dark hole. I lived a lot of years in a dark place, feeling like I was hopeless. Again, my mom wasn't around, my dad wasn't around, and I fell into a very dark, depressive state. Where I struggled a lot with suicide. I struggled with suicide for several months. And I think that was probably like my lowest that I was at in my life, was just feeling in this place of like despair. And again, not having tools, not really having support system and stuff. I became addicted to drugs, and I had actually wound up going to jail at a very young age when I was like 16. I spent some time in jail. And so like it literally took me losing everything to appreciate anything that I have.
Oh,
And
yeah.
again, like I look back at those things in my life now, and as weird as it may sound, like I'm very grateful for all of those things that happened to me, because it really allowed me to not only relate to my clients on a deeper level, but it also like allowed me to really prospectively see that, you know, everybody's doing the best they can with what they have. But I think as people, what I've really realized in my journey is we look externally to fill the
Yes.
internal needs. And for me, that was something that I had to really explore. And it took me a while to figure that out. But knowing that now, it's like, how can we begin to give these things to ourselves? Right. And that's where my spirituality really took off. Was it's just like looking internally for answers, because we can look externally for validation from other people and, you know, in our relationships and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like we always have to come home to ourselves.
Now,
And so, yeah.
did you go through NA or AA, or did you just?
Actually, no, I didn't. I am very proud of myself to say that I was able to pull myself out of that.
That's cool.
It was just kind of like,
You're a very rare person for being able to do that. I know a few, but not very many.
yeah, I think for me, again, it took losing everything to really realize like where I was at in my life. Like
Yeah.
I was literally like borderline homeless. Like my mom had cut me off. I reached out to my family, and at that point in time, like I had nobody. So it was kind of like, you make your bed, you lay in it. Right.
Yeah.
And I had to do some really deep soul searching. And after having gone through, when I went through my last attempt at suicide, that was kind of like, I think my big wake up call was at that point in time. I feel like the universe gave me a second chance at life. And it was kind of like one of those moments where your life literally flashes before your eyes. And I woke up in the hospital, and I just remember like at that point in time, like everything that should have broke me in my life, almost like gave me life. It gave me a reason, and it gave me a reason to share my story. And it's just like something clicked, you know, like they say, like where you can't find lightness, you can't find light until you see darkness. And like, I
Oh,
feel like I had to
yes.
go through all the dark in order to actually finally see the light and have that breakthrough. But yeah, for me, it was just like realizing in that moment, like life is so precious, you know, and after having that kind of like last lifeline, when I feel like my life should have probably been over. And I had a lot of people, nurses, doctors tell me like, you're very lucky, you know, to have
You.
been alive. Something clicked in my mind, and it was just like, okay, like maybe there's purpose here, maybe there's meaning. And it was just the biggest thing that helped me in that moment, was just putting one foot in front of the other, and just getting through today and just getting through tomorrow. Like it was a very slow process. But I think for me, not having support in my life, it was really hard for me to reach out to other people. It was really hard for me to ask for help, being that I've always been a strong, independent person. I moved out when I was a young age, like when I was like 15, 16, I was living right on my own.
And you didn't
And
have that help. Nobody was offering you that help either. So it's hard to know that there's help out there. Again, it goes back to not when you don't know, you just don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I think for me, that was also at that point in my life, what kind of made me a little bit more open and aware to there's bigger things far more beyond our comprehension in terms of the universe, and, you know, light and guidance and guides and stuff like that. And I really feel like that I was meant to be here. And from that day, it was friggin' tough. There were days that were harder than others for sure, but it's just like, you know, let's just get through today. And then we got through today, and it was just like one day at a time type thing. Um, so yeah, it was really, really hard. And again, so many like lessons and stuff, but I feel like in everything, and whether it's hardships or, you know, difficult situations that you're navigating through, is I always say is like, there's lessons and there's blessings. And even though sometimes when we're in it, we don't always see it, it's kind of like on the other side of things. You know, there's always so many blessings and lessons that we can take away. And every negative thing that's happened to me, I always try and find, you know, the one good thing in all of it, even though it
Yes.
feels like things are shit and
It's like,
not good
son,
right now.
why universe? Enough already. I
Yeah.
totally get it. I grew up extremely poor. So I knew we related, and I didn't know that part of your story. My dad died when mom was 8 months pregnant with me. I'm the youngest of 9 kids. So imagine mom back in 1964, there wasn't all the, I'm going to use the word tools because you have used that word a couple times and it really resonated with me. There wasn't those tools back then. There wasn't the food bank back then. You relied on friends. And it's something I think our society has kind of dropped away from a lot. And we're now reliant on the food banks type system, which is good because there's that safety net. But I get it when you use the words "I was ashamed," and I never used to tell people about my life. Prior to moving out of Vancouver, I was brought up in East Vancouver. We moved to the suburbs. I didn't talk about it with a lot of my friends because they didn't get it. They wouldn't understand it. So that shame that you felt, I think is quite common because it's that society tells us, well, obviously you guys didn't work hard.
Yeah.
Well, screw you. We worked our asses off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Definitely. So moving into your spirituality, you started taking courses. When did you realize that this was something you were going to actually share with people? And I love the way your guides put that. Not you're going to go into business for yourself doing this, but this is what you were going to share with people.
So interestingly enough, as I said, when we first started this conversation, I've had a background in health and wellness for over 10 years. I've been an athlete my entire life. I've had multiple jobs. I've kind of dabbled into different areas of my life. I worked in the fire hall. I worked on the ambulance. I worked logistics. I worked oil and gas for like 10 years. I worked in the bar industry, like Heinz 57. And so
did you do fitness instructor as well at one point?
Yeah. So as I got older, and again, just with my childhood and stuff, like it was normal for us to move around. Like my brother and I changed schools, quite regularly and stuff. So as I was navigating into like junior high and like high school, it got harder to meet friends, and like kids are mean, right? You're like the new kid. You suck. People don't want to know you. Like it's just everybody's like grew up together, right? And every school I went to, like that elementary to like junior high, like everybody's done life together, and then there's a separation, and everybody's kind of like, whoa, like who are you? Type thing. So I didn't like that feeling. So as I got older, and obviously in high school, you're not as accepted, if you will. And so moving into high school, like that's kind of when I dropped out of sports. Like every sport, you name it, I played like hockey, I played badminton, I played football, I played, basketball, volleyball was like my jam. So I was like in every like activity you can think of. And then as I got older, it became a little bit harder to be involved in these sports and curriculums and stuff. And so I was like, well, I don't want to not do anything. Like, health and fitness was always such a big part of my life. So I started taking to the gym at a young age. I think I was like 15 or 16. And I was literally that like YouTuber that you see that's like, these are things that you should not do. This is how this piece of exercise does not work. Like it was literally trial and error. I shit you not. It was trial and error.
That's awesome.
I was literally that person in the gym that people are like, oh yeah, like I probably, maybe somebody put me on YouTube. I don't know. But I figured it out myself. It was just trial and error. Like I never had a trainer. And that's just like how I learned. And then as I felt the effects of that, and this was kind of actually coming out of my drug addiction at that point in time, I really started to take this route of like exercise and stuff. I started like changing up my habits. And so it was kind of around that same time when I got active in the gym, and I was like, whoa, I started feeling the benefits of it. I started feeling better, like dopamine, all these things were happening. And so that was a part of that was a piece of my life that had also saved me, was just having that crutch of like, it's like, music on, world off type thing. And that like really saved me. And so, yeah, as I felt the benefits of that, I was like, wow, like this is really cool. I want to share this with other people. I just don't know how to. So I started researching and kind of went down the rabbit hole. I was talking to competitive athletes at the gym and just asking questions. And then when I got enough money, I hired my own trainer and stuff. And I was like, I think this is like what I want to do. Like I've always had a passion for helping people. And I think a lot of it was because I never really had that growing up. And so I know the importance of community. I know the importance of
Yes.
connection and connecting with people's hearts. And again, I think it's because I didn't have that. That's part of why I feel drawn to doing what I'm doing today. And just like really hearing people's stories and just being able to relate to them on such a personal level, and making them feel safe about it and not feel shame and not feel all of those shitty stories that we tell ourselves. And so
Yes.
I launched my business. I launched my first business and I was working with friends and family originally, just starting out. I was like, hey, like just I'm in this space of just trying things out. And so I need some guinea pigs, if you will. So I was like experimenting with friends and family. And that was really cool. And then yeah, from there, it just kind of skyrocketed. I got certified as a trainer and I started working in gyms. I started putting myself out there and again, I was like, I'm so committed. Like I am literally that person when my mind is in something, I'm super savage. Like I will learn it inside and out and like master that. And that's what I did. I got certified. I was working oil and gas at the time. So I would work like my day job and then I'd work in the evenings, training clients.
Oh,
And
cool.
it was, for me, it was getting experience. It was not ever about the money and stuff, but what wound up happening, and I was very successful with that. I had helped open up a couple big franchise. I had really big opportunities that were happening. I fully launched my online business in 2014. And then in doing that, I launched my gym apparel and stuff. So things were going really, really good in that direction. And then after opening up some big box gyms and stuff, I had my business on the side. So it was like, okay, being mindful, there's no conflict of interest here. The two were completely separate. Um, and as time had progressed, I wound up like overseeing all of the personal training. I was doing group classes and stuff, and things were going really, really good. And then I hit a point in my life where I was proposed with a big decision, and this kind of just changed a lot of things for me. They had wanted me to open up several gyms for this franchise company, and I was super honored and grateful to have done that. But in came this like non-compete agreement where it was like you're either, you know, letting go of your business or you're staying with ours. And I was like, man, like there's people that have done life with me for like the last couple of years. Like I'm pretty much like their only family, their only network that they have. Like I can't just abandon them again. Coming from that in my life, I know what it's like to not feel like you have support.
Mhm.
Um, and so I took a big risk. I walked away from that. And from that point, it was just like, no, like I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to trust my intuition and do what's best for me. This is my name. This is my reputation. Like I'm meant to help people. But what interestingly enough wound up happening was being a health and wellness coach, obviously facilitating personal transformations externally. I also spent some time doing internal work with clients where it was like, people when they're working out and people I think that are going into programs, there's a lot of limiting beliefs around that as well, right? And then I started kind of seeing these patterns with people that it was like, well, where is the system broken? Like people are feeling like they're getting the support, but it's just like they're kind of in these same loop patterns. And it was just really understanding again, there's like some patterns and some paradigms and some limiting beliefs here. And so as I started kind of getting more into the mind, that was where my passion for that had really grown, just understanding the mind and limiting beliefs and
Nice.
like the conscious, the subconscious, like there's all this science behind it. But I kind
Well,
of
it's
went down.
funny. I'm listening to you going, is she talking about Is she talking about her training or actually spirituality? Because they're starting to mesh together there.
Yeah, it's going to be tied into that.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I started really just going down this space of just like helping people, I realized there was a disconnect. There's like, if there's a disconnect in your mind and body, like that creates such an imbalance. And for me, it's like,
Yes.
you can't physically be healthy until like you're mentally healthy, right? And there has to be that like that balance. And so for me, the more that I shifted into that, I think that's where I really stepped into my calling and my knowing. Like I'm meant for so much more than this. Like, yes, I can facilitate external transformations, but my gifts is really like internally. And so as spiritual as I was 7 years ago, leading up to today, it honestly took me a while to come out of the spiritual closet, if you will, is what I like to
Yes.
call it. Not a lot of people in my network knew that I was like spiritual, woo woo, whatever you want to call it. But again, for me, it was just like, there's so many different layers of spirituality. And I think like, again, you don't know what you don't know. And everybody has different meanings, different interpretations around what spirituality looks, sounds, and feels like. And there's no right, there's no wrong,
No.
right? But for me, I felt like I was afraid to show that part of myself. And so I had kind of like put this block up and stuff. It's a big risky move, reverse engineering your business. People know you as this like fitness guru. And so now it's like, you're literally going from one avenue to the next. And now you're talking spirituality and stuff. Like, hold the phone for a minute. Like, what's happening?
Who are you?
So yeah, I just shifted into like my roots and just like, again, my calling and just like really embracing like where I'm at in my life, like where I come from, and that like I'm meant to share my story, and I wouldn't be here if I wasn't, like I could have had
Exactly.
my life taken many, many years ago, and I'm grateful that I didn't. But it's just like I'm meant to be here and be a healer and help people be vulnerable and allow people to be unapologetically themselves and really embrace their story. Again, your story's not your story doesn't define you, and your story is just a story. It's changeable, right? And
Exactly. That's
so
the
for
key to
me,
life, isn't it? It's
yeah,
changeable. It doesn't
yeah,
matter what you've done yesterday, the day before, 10 years ago. It's what you're doing. I always use this. I think I probably have said this to you in one of our sessions. It's 7:48 on December 19th. 7:47 has already happened. We can't change what happened. We can change what's going to happen in 7:49 by what we say in 7:48. I'm a
yeah,
huge believer in you got to live in the now.
yeah,
Learn from your past, but live in the now.
yeah. Yeah. And so for me, it was just like embracing that, like, this is me, this is like what I'm meant to do. And, it's like, there's a saying that like people come into your life for reasons, or like for lessons and blessings, right? And
Yes.
some people stay for a short season and some people stay for a long season. And for me, it was just like, it doesn't matter where I come from. It doesn't matter where I go from here. The people that are meant to stay will stay. And believe me, when I reverse engineered my business, a lot of followers fell off. And that
Oh,
was
of
like,
course.
that was friggin' scary for me because again, it's like we look to this external validation, but it's society labels that say like you need to have 500 followers, you need to have this, you need to have that. Like at the end of the day, it's like coming back home to yourself and embracing like every part of who you are, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like knowing like if this is your path and this is your calling and you know that to be true to yourself, is you have to follow what's best for you, not what's best for other people. It's like,
Yes.
are you being the leader and like leading the pack, or are you like following the crowd? And I didn't want to do that anymore. I was like, I really just like want to be me, and people are either going to love me or hate me. And it's just like,
Doesn't
my
matter.
yeah, my job is not to like make people like me. My job is like to be me and unapologetically. And, the people that
Yes.
are meant to stay in my life will stay. And so, yeah, it was a huge risk, like coming out of the spiritual
Oh,
closet, but
yeah.
honestly, like, I feel like I've taken a lot of that pressure off of myself. And, I feel like it's really cultivated community for me, which is important to me because again, like I didn't have that. And at the end of the day, it's just like, I'm just going to be me. And I've accepted that people are either going to love you or hate you. And it's a big risk, and everybody watching,
Yes.
it's like, whoa.
Well,
But
I mean,
yeah,
because
for me,
when we do what we do, people are watching because we are on social media, and that's how we grow our business is through social media. Um, it was funny. I was watching everything that was happening on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter, but I don't really promote my business on Twitter. I promote my business on Facebook. But I was watching Twitter, and it's at one point everybody thought there wasn't going to be a Twitter in the morning, and I was like, "Holy crap! What would happen if Facebook shut down?" I literally would be going because I wouldn't have what I have.
yeah,
So you're right. It is when we take that switch because similar to you, not similar to you. I was politics. That was my passion before I came out of the spiritual closet. I love the way you say that, by the way. So a lot of people are still to this day kind of watching me going, what's he up to? What's he doing? Because politics is a nasty, nasty business. So to be involved in that and now do what I do, it's such polar opposites. I'm surprised you lost as many followers as you did, because I find people who are looking to keep their body in shape also want to keep the mind and soul. Because I always say it's body, mind, soul. If we don't have those three, it's something's out of whack in your life somewhere. It has to be.
Yeah.
So you've transitioned from being a personal trainer, or do you still do personal training as well?
I do, upon request. Like I have clients that, have known me from before, as a personal trainer, doing like meal plans, workout programs. It's not something that I don't do, but it's not something that I market to.
Right.
So
now you're more marketing, solely doing energy work.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Do you call it Reiki? Because it's not, you don't really. I was trying to put what you do into a nutshell, and it's too hard. It's almost impossible what you do into a nutshell, because it's like Reiki on steroids. Not really. What is it that you do?
So a lot, like what I'm doing full time now, I do a lot of workshops, both online, both in person, which could be anything from inner child stuff, subconscious programming, hypnotherapy, EFT, meditations, energy healing sessions is very common for me to do for people, which being a spiritual channeler, when I'm like in people's energy, I'm getting downloads from, my spiritual team, their spiritual team. It's kind of like a mix of, I guess, channeling and Reiki is the best way to describe it.
Okay.
Clients usually leave feeling, more relaxed, more aligned with themselves. I get messages that come through from past loved ones, which is really cool. I've really developed a deep relationship with spirit, which is really cool. And so, yeah, being in these containers, spirit sometimes will show me things that they're lacking. Again, having a background in shamanism as well, that I've really tapped into this year. I, will get messages, they're spirit animals. I'll get messages from us, from animals with just messages. Sometimes it'll be their spirit animals. Sometimes it'll just be messages. And there was something else that I was going to say too. Yeah. A lot of what I do, I'm facilitating a lot of retreats as well. So I do like a lot of one-on-one retreats. I do like host a lot of group retreats and stuff as well. But my most recent modality that I'm really excited about, I actually just got back from Guatemala. I spent
so exciting.
in South America. So I'm actually a breathwork facilitator as well. So it's really like helping people release trauma from the body.
And this is how Tabitha and I met. Was we both, I was helping Ken Lewicki, and we had, who was it that was doing the breath work? Kamal, thank you. I'm sorry, Kamal. He's probably listening. He's like, really?
Hashtag I'm
we had Kamal do a breathwork session. I have done some really cool things. I've never done anything cooler than that breathwork session we did in Calgary that evening. It was something, it was crazy. I've done one online with them, or two online. No, one online with them now. And I was like, online's not going to be as cool.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was just, you put the headphones on, everything's silent. It's just you by yourself doing your thing. It was, so breath work is something that I really want to tap into more. Tell us about what breath work is all about.
Breathwork it's honestly literally changed my life. Before I went to Guatemala, I was in a container with my mentors who I learned a lot of nervous system regulation from, which was really important for me in everything. Like breathwork is really about you just coming back to yourself, centering yourself, just being able to regulate your emotions, transmute things that you're feeling, whether it's anxiety, fear, sadness, guilt, shame, whatever. But through conscious connected breath, it's really about being able to work through physical traumas, emotional traumas, different parts of your life, you can journey through, and you can get a lot of clarity in those sessions. Just being able to, again, look at those paradigms and those belief systems and stuff, and really journey through them, and just like allow your body to purge and to feel and move through this experience and stuff. I can't
Very
really.
cool.
Yeah, breath work is
Until
literally,
you experience it, it's so
until you
hard to.
experience it, it's like, yeah, but it really helps you.
It's
It really
rhythmic breathing is basically what it is. It's you're breathing in and out in a rhythm that you choose, and it's cool. I can't even describe. Somebody tried to get me to describe it, and I'm like, you just got to do it. Like
Mhm.
literally, if you have, I'm looking into the camera. If you have an opportunity, do
Yeah,
it, because it's so rewarding. Even myself, with all the issues I'm having with my lungs, um, it was at first I was like, there's no way I can do this. Like there's not a possibility in hell I'm going to be able to breathe like this for, what was it, a half hour, whatever it
mhm.
was that we did. And yeah, I did it, and I was exhausted. It took me like 3 days to recover from it, but it
Yeah.
was so rewarding. So you went to Guatemala. Wow, that was hard to say. To learn. You spent what, 2 weeks in Guatemala?
Yeah, I was there for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Nice. Um, Now you're going to be offering this as a service to people. Is it in person, or can you do this over Zoom? Is it a one-on-one? Is it more of a group thing?
So all of the above. I actually do have my first workshop that's coming up in January, which is in person.
Oh,
Yeah, which I'm really, really excited about. I have a cacao and a breath session together. So it's going to be kind of like a 2-in-1. Cacao is really beautiful in the sense that it's like a heart opener. It kind of like helps you get in the space a little bit more, helps you like open your mind, open your heart. So I do one-on-one sessions. So for anybody that's wanting to, maybe works through some deeper stuff. Maybe you don't really feel comfortable being in a group setting yet. Honestly, group settings are really, really powerful because it allows you to kind of connect and feed off of other people's energy, just as people are going through their own processes, things that are coming up for them. It really allows you to go deeper, I feel, because you're in this space where you're connected with all of these like-minded individuals, and we're all
exactly.
connected through energy, through sound and stuff. So as people are going through their processes, as people are releasing emotions, some people are crying, some people are laughing. It just like really allows you to hold that space for yourself. But also what's really cool in these containers is you're also holding space for other people as well. So you're
Yes,
allowing them to feel safe and, feel secure with releasing with whatever they need to. So I personally feel there's more power in doing breath work in a group setting versus one-on-one, but it is as powerful doing just like a one-on-one session as a facilitator to a client. And then online is really beneficial as well. Obviously, if you're not able to be in person, I have a lot of clients that I work with internationally. The
yeah,
thing with that is the only thing that I do tell clients is like you might not be able to go as deep as you would in person, just because I do like a lot of body work with people as well, which sometimes can be more powerful getting into state, helping people if they're moving through some big emotions and stuff. But obviously, like we're still connected one-to-one, just like you and I are connected here. So there is still a lot of power in that. So it's just like whatever looks, sounds, and feels appropriate for everybody in their own individual journey.
that's cool. Now, were you saying you're having a in-person session? Where is that? Where are you going to be doing it?
So I'm actually doing it in the heart of Canmore. So all the way out.
No, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
so it's going to be Saturday, January 21st from 5 o'clock until 10 p.m. at Creekside, Creek, Creekside
Creekside.
Community Center. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
And people, how much is that event?
So for the actual just like breath work, again, as I mentioned, we are doing a cacao ceremony, starting up, opening up the container. So we're doing a cacao ceremony, and then we're moving into the actual breath work session itself. So for that workshop, it's 111. And then I also do integration calls following. So if people feel like they need a little bit more support, they're having big processes, they're needing, more of the emotional support following the actual workshop, is they can do the cacao, the breath work, and then the integration call for 155.
Oh, very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. And that's from 5 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night.
I've allocated 5 hours. It's not to say that it's going to be the full 5 hours.
That's a long time.
Just with the cacao ceremony, it'll probably be about an hour. And then so just starting, getting everybody, into a meditative state, getting people relaxed, getting people comfortable, doing introductions and stuff, getting people comfortable in the space and stuff as well. And then, of course, like allowing time for, a pause, break in between, getting people settled back into the space.
That makes total sense.
And the breath session itself, most times, is about 45 minutes to an hour. And then, of course, after that, I do like a pre-talk, just letting people kind of know what to expect from the session. If there's any, questions, comments, concerns prior to going into the session. And then coming out of the session, we talk about integration. We talk about, your process. I like to do shares if people are open to that. And then just having some time afterwards if people want to have snacks and mingle and stuff like that. So it's not to say it's going to take the full 5 hours. That's just like the time that I've, allotted
really,
for.
really cool. I love it. I absolutely love it. And where can people get tickets for that? Where they online, obviously.
So you can either come to my Facebook, send me a message on Messenger. You can send me an email. I'm at awakenedandaligned99@gmail.com. But if you go to my Facebook page, there's a link in there that you can click on for that. Send me an email, send me a message.
Do you have a Facebook event set up for this?
Yes, I do. So if you actually go to Awakened and Aligned, that is my business page. It's like brand new. So if you want to give me a follow, say, hey, hi, what's up? I would absolutely love to connect with you guys, but it is also posted on there.
I will be posting both her page and the event on my page. So afterwards, after we finish this session, you can easily click over. Like I say, it's in Canmore. What more reason do you need to go? We did an event. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Ken and I did an expo in in Canmore in July.
No, I didn't know that.
There's something special about Canmore.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I've been there a few times prior to coming into this new chapter of my life. But when I went there to do this event with Ken, there was something special about Canmore. I don't know what it is, whether it's the mountains, the streams,
all of the above.
All of the above. It's a special little place. So good on you for picking it. It feels really, really, really good. If people just want to do a session with you, how do they go about? Same way, go to either your personal page or your business page?
Yeah, they can go either or. Personal page. I have a couple different links as well on Instagram. If people have Instagram as well, I'm at awakened_and_aligned. So that's another way as well. Again, I have like different sessions that I offer. If you want like a one-to-one energy healing session, if you're looking for just like a breakthrough session, I have just like individual calls if there's something that you're like struggling with. If you want to book for like breath work. So if there's something specifically that, I mentioned on this call that resonated with you, there's different ways that I do work with people if they're looking for more of like a one-to-one mentorship, whether that's like 3 months, 6 months, what that looks, sounds, and feels like. There's different options and different things that we can throw into the container and stuff.
Awesome.
So yeah, the best way I think is just to like message me, give me like a little bit of like what you're looking for, and then we can kind of work from there.
What was that?
Send me a
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know we went over time because I ran late. So thank you for spending the hour with me.
Of course.
I know for a fact that your story is important to be told, and it's a good story. It's an important story that others need to hear more, and you need to. Did I tell you this already? Did we talk about writing a book? I hate
Yes.
saying it because literally everybody
No
in this
pressure.
everybody in this freaking industry wants to write a book. You
Yeah.
need to write a book. It's not
But it's
that you
my
want
vision
to write a
board for
book.
like 2 years. So
You
it's
need to write this book.
in the works.
It's an important story that, especially the younger generation coming up, I'm looking down the generational lines. I don't know why I looked down that way. There's nothing there. It's like pointing over to the other side and I look in my closet. It's just, I'm looking at my grandchildren. We have a granddaughter that's 16. I have a granddaughter that's 8. And I have a granddaughter that's 4. And I look at them and I'm like, what are they going to go through? And who are their role models going to be besides their parents? Because as you know, we always look outside. There's people that need to hear your story because you've been through literal hell and back. We just touched on it. I know you didn't go into great detail. You need to go into great detail in the book, by the way. It's not, you can't just kind of gloss over the bad times. You need to write it down. People need to hear it. And you're going to be rewarded for it. And you know damn well when I say rewarded, I'm not talking rewarded by financial. You'll be rewarded other ways. So get busy and write the damn book, will you?
It's actually just sitting down and scripting. It's like I have like all these things that I'm like, oh, this and this and this and this, but it's just like actually putting pieces together and just like brain dumping. But I think that's just what I need to do is just like get it on paper and then just let everybody else figure out how it comes together.
And you know what? I think that's like, you need to tell your story and let somebody else put it into a book form. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do. I don't know. I have no interest in writing a book. I'm probably the only one in the whole entire spiritual, I hate using the word industry, but spiritual industry that has no ambition to write a book. Everybody wants to write a book. Everybody has books. It's like, I don't have a book. I don't want a book. I guess I just don't find myself that interesting.
Yeah, it's coming.
Anyways, thank you so much, young lady. You have a very Merry Christmas. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to put you over in the waiting room, but don't go anywhere. I want to have a chat before we leave.
Sounds good.
Hey, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Thank you, everybody. I apologize for, again, running late, starting this late and then running late. This will be the last session, I think, before Christmas, obviously. I don't think I'm going to do a session I'm definitely not going to do a show on Boxing Day because, of course, that is the most important day of the year because it's the World Juniors Hockey Tournament starts. So I won't be doing any session that day, but we will pick up again on January the 2nd. So till then, you guys all have a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and we will talk to you all in 2023.